Hey guys, welcome back. It's Kneon, and we're going to talk about Terry Gilliam. I saw Terry Gilliam on Twitter trending earlier today, and I thought he died. Because he's 79 years old. But, he's going to pass from this world soon, but he's not going to do it before he gets a few digs in at the media, at our current culture. And Terry Gilliam trolled a journalist. Oh my God, because he trolled a journalist who was asking some very odd questions, but because it was supposed to be about promoting his movie, or maybe he directed the conversation in that way. I don't know. But because he trolled a journalist, it's hitting all the news outlets about what a horrible person he is. His opinions are horrible, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to remind people that Terry Gilliam was part of Monty Python. Monty Python was known for its bawdy humor. It was known for its sarcasm. Apparently, this journalist did not realize that Terry Gilliam was messing with her. I don't know. But he's a grown-ass adult. He is almost 80. He can say what he wants. And of course, Twitter is very salty about it. So we're going to talk about that. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're at about 86,000 subs, hoping for 100,000 soon. So the Mary Sue does not disappoint. Terry Gilliam is tired of society blaming white men for everything, and we're just as tired of him. Old man screams at windmill. Bad news, everyone. Monty Python alum Terry Gilliam is back with more terrible and offensive opinions. The 79-year-old Brazil director is currently on a press tour for his film The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, in which he has struggled to make for over 20 years. That is true. In a new interview with The Independent, however, Gilliam was more interested in talking about the victimization of white men. Oh man, if he thinks white guys have it tough, just wait until he hears how bad everyone else has it. Journalist Alexandra Pollard summed up her interview on Twitter quite succinctly. I can't say it was a pleasure to interview Terry Gilliam. Now, the Mary Sue has their hot takes. They say in the rambling interview, Gilliam shares his thoughts on the current cultural climate, the Me Too movement, etc., etc. He says, we're living in a time where there's always somebody responsible for your failures, and I don't like this. I want people to take responsibility and not just constantly point the finger at somebody else saying, you've ruined my life. This conversation went on for a while, but the thing is that putting this in context, because I read the original interview, again, when this kind of stuff goes down, you have to go to the source. You can't look at the hot takes, because 99.9% of the time, the hot takes, you have a lot of personal opinion, a lot of inflection that was not there is injected. And again, remember, Terry Gilliam was part of Monty Python. So this very, very, very lengthy article, to me, his answers sounded like he was trolling this journalist. He talks about chivalry. We're talking about Don Quixote. He says there's no room for modern masculinity, I'm told. He said the male gaze is over, he adds, letting his derisive air quotes hover for a moment. So he made air quotes. Again, comedian. Used to be part of Monty Python. He talks about Angelica in the movie and says, in the age of Me Too, here's a girl who takes responsibility for her state. Whatever happened in this character's life, she's not accusing anybody. We're living in a time where there's always somebody responsible for your failures, and I don't like this. I want people to take responsibility and not just constantly point a finger at somebody else, saying you've ruined my life. He goes on to talk about the Harvey Weinstein situation and how there were some victims, but there also were some adults that perhaps, possibly, maybe, in his opinion, made some poor choices. And so this is not going well with this journalist. And then that phrase comes up, witch hunt. Yeah, I said Me Too is a witch hunt, according to Terry Gilliam. There's a silence. I really feel there were a lot of people, decent people, or mildly irritating people who were getting hammered. That's wrong. I don't like the mob mentality. These were ambitious adults. Again, talks about the fact that there were legitimate victims in that situation. And then it just kind of escalates. This conversation escalates, and he begins to troll the journalist. And this is why I think the journalist took such issue with the conversation. Was Gilliam's trolling. 79-year-old brilliant filmmaker and Monty Python alum, saying that he knows that there are some actresses who are like, well, I'll do whatever I have to do to get into your movie. So he's like, maybe people took advantage of that situation. Again, not saying everyone, just saying he's been in the business long enough. The guy's almost 80 years old. He's seen a lot of stuff. He said, I don't understand why people behave as this hasn't been going on as long as there have been powerful people. I understand that men have had more power longer, but I'm tired as a white male. Terry, you're problematic. But I'm tired as a white male being blamed for everything that's wrong with the world. He holds up his hands. I didn't do it. It's deeply frustrating to argue with Gilliam. This is the reporter. He is both the devil and the advocate. I try to say that it's not white men that are to blame for everything, but they are born with certain privilege that too often they exploit. He interrupts me. It's been so simplified is what I don't like. When I announce that I'm a black lesbian in transition, people take offense to that. Why? She says, because you're not. Why am I not? How are you saying that I'm not? She says, are you? You've judged me and I decided I was making a joke. She says, you can't identify as black though. Actually, I'm going to disagree slightly with you, independent reporter. You most certainly can identify as something you are not. Just gonna put this out there. Just gonna put that out there. Anyway, so Terry Gilliam goes, okay, here it is. Go on Google, type in the name Gilliam. Watch what comes up. What's going to come up? She says. The majority of these are black people, so maybe I'm half black. I just don't look it. Again, joking. Monty Python alum says some stuff that you would expect him to say, but earlier he described himself as a white male because that's the joke. That's the joke, but you're not allowed to make those jokes now. I don't like the term black or white. I'm now referring to myself as a melanin-light male, he says. I can't stand the simplistic, tribalistic behavior that we're going through at the moment. He smiles. He smiles because he's trolling her, and she's getting very, very salty. I'm getting myself in deeper water, so I have to trust you. I'm not sure what he's trusting me to do. He's trusting you to run the article the way that he manipulated you into running the article to make him look like this monster. Because he knows that's what you're going to do. Because this is not his first rodeo. He's almost 80 years old. He knows how the media works. The best way to win this game, honestly, is to not even play the game unless you're almost 80 years old and you don't give a shit, which is, I think, what's going on here with Terry Gilliam. And we're seeing more and more celebrities push back against journalists. In fact, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a privileged white guy like Terry Gilliam. We saw Daisy Ridley get attacked by journalists a couple of months ago. For no reason, they asked her about her privilege when they were talking about John Boyega. Like it had nothing to do with the conversation. They were talking about Star Wars and her privacy and whatever, and then they're just randomly the reporter's like, well, what about your privilege? And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? And it became a very uncomfortable conversation. These journalists don't know when to pull back because they all think they're Pulitzer Prize winners, and they're just overpaid Tumblr bloggers, a lot of them. But I digress. Interesting conversation. So here he continues to troll her. I'm talking about being a man accused of all the wrong in the world because I'm white. So I better not be a man. I better not be white. Okay, since I didn't find men sexually attractive, I gotta be a lesbian, right? What else can I be? He says, I like girls. These are just logical steps. The reporter, they don't seem logical. Gilliam, I'm just trying to make you start thinking. You see, this is the world I grew up in, and with Python, we could do this stuff and we weren't offending people. We were giving people a lot of laughter. But now, Monty Python is problematic, and the reporter is going to tell you why. He is right about that. But at its best, Python was silly and whimsical. Its more pointed satirical moments punching up, not punching down. At its worst, it missed the mark, objectifying women when it wasn't depicting them as shrill and preposterous and using racial slurs that would rightly horrify people today. Gilliam doesn't see the difference. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He's too old and too male. And despite his identifying as someone else, he is of the skin color he is. I'm into diversity more than anybody, he says. But diversity in the way you think about the world, which means you can hate what I just said. That's fine, no problem. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but fundamentalism always winds up being you have to attack other people who are not like you. And that's what makes me crazy. Life is fantastic. It's wonderful. It's so complex. Enjoy it and play with it and have fun. That's why I didn't become a missionary. A missionary. That was my plan. I was quite the little zealot when I was young, but when their God couldn't take a joke, I thought, well, this is stupid. Who'd want to believe in a God that can't laugh? His publicist comes back into the room to tell us our time is up, I bet. We didn't talk about the film even once, he tells her, with the glee of a schoolboy telling on his classmate, I get up to leave. I don't know how you got stuck with me in this mood, he says. I just love arguing, and if you've got a point, you should be able to argue your thing. That grin is back, but I'm not going to hit you. He completely trolled this journalist, and you know what? We're seeing more and more pushback. We're seeing more and more pushback from celebrities who have basically just had enough. You know, it's almost like, why would you even take an interview with some of these news outlets? Because you know that the conversation is not going to be about what it is you want to promote, that they're somehow going to overstep. We saw it even going back to Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was giving a nice little press tour to a journalist, and the journalist felt the need to ask him about his drug and alcohol problem. Like, what does that have to do with anything else? We saw it with the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix is a very liberal guy, a very progressive guy, and they were pushing him about, to make some talk about gun violence or something, and he just got up and walked out. And then the press was not allowed. They were not allowed to ask questions during the premiere. And I think the celebrities are starting to get tired of this too. And of course, here we go. The Mary Sue with their hot takes. The Mary Sue claims that Gilliam is saying that the Harvey Weinstein situation shouldn't be taken so seriously. That's not what he was saying. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying is not everyone involved in those kinds of things to get ahead is necessarily a victim. Some people are just playing the game to advance their career, and you need to be able to know the difference, right? Overall, the director comes across as that obnoxious guy in your freshman dorm who argues about everything just for the sake of arguing. I could say the same thing about these journalists. The one always playing devil's advocate. Much like his comments on Black Panther. What do you say about Black Panther? Terry Gilliam's opinions on Black Panther are deeply infuriating. Okay, well, what did he say? He called it utter bullshit. According to The Independent, again, for giving young fans, particularly black fans, a false sense of belief, as he puts it. I hated Black Panther. It makes me crazy. It gives young black kids the idea that this is something to believe in. It's utter bullshit. He went on to say that he doubted the people involved in the movie ever bothered to visit Africa to even prepare for the film. I think the people who made it have never even been to Africa. They went and they got some stylists for some African pattern fabrics and things. I just hated the movie, partly because the media were going on about the importance of the bullshit. Uh-oh. Well, that's his opinion. How many of these people have they visited Africa? I don't know. So look, he says he speaks his mind. The guy is 79 years old, almost 80 years old. And it looks like these media outlets are out to get him. I think he knows they're out to get him, but I think he actually is getting the last laugh, and he doesn't care. He's almost 80 years old. Twitter hates it, of course. Wow, this interview is a mess. They cherry pick one sentence. And this is why, again, if you're a celebrity and you have an opinion, you probably don't want to talk to some of these news outlets. Everybody's talking about it. Talking about how Terry Gilliam is problematic, and he describes the Me Too movement as a witch hunt. If you're tired, take a nap. Yeah, so this is, it's funny. Again, I thought he was dead. But here, look at the responses. Here we go. P.S. If you want to wash the taste out of your mouth with two wonderful female filmmakers, I wrote this a week ago. Wash the bad taste of Terry Gilliam out of your mouth. Why do you have to wash the taste of Terry Gilliam out of your mouth? I'm guessing you wouldn't have enjoyed Picasso or Dickens much either. Probably not. No, probably not. Never meet your heroes. I don't think she was a big fan of Terry Gilliam. I could be mistaken. So this is Ava DuVernay, who is the director of, I think it's DuVernay. Anyway, she's going to be doing, I think, New Gods for DC. And she did Wrinkle in Time. And, she says, poor thing. But Hollywood's going to dogpile on Terry Gilliam, and I don't think he really cares. I don't think he really cares anymore. But again, you know, it's just so funny to see how some of these celebrities are starting to catch on to what these journalists are about, and they really are trying to trick them into saying things that they can use to you know, plaster across the headlines. Again, Gilliam doesn't care, but other people are completely blindsided. You know, Daisy Ridley in recent memory, Joaquin Phoenix. You know, I think there's going to come a time where you know, a lot of these celebrities probably won't talk to the media anymore because anything they say can and will be used against them. They said Jules Rivera. Oh yeah, I think she worked in webcomics, or IDW or something. The name's familiar. He's fine with holding up and benefiting from the systems of abuse. No, I don't think he said that. That is not what I think he said. But you know what? I'm going to put a link to the article. You can judge for yourself. You can judge for yourself whether or not Terry Gilliam is just trolling this journalist or whether or not he's an awful person. Personally, I think he's old and he's tired, and he will have none of their nonsense. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.